Welcome to The Sacred Life and the Divine Feminine Spotlight. I'm Shann founder of transformationgoddess.com. The intention of the Divine Feminine Spotlight is to share transformational conversations with women who've learned to walk in beauty with the strength, courage, and pleasure of claiming their feminine sovereignty. And today, it's my pleasure and honor to introduce you to Joni Advent Maher. Joni has become a friend. We do some work together on the side with her podcast, and she is a part of my circle of women that I'm so grateful to know and share with. And Joni is a spiritual midwife, a transformational coach, and she supports women to remember their sacred nature and become inspired leaders in their lives, relationships, and worlds. She's the founder of Revolutionary Heart, and she works with wise, soulful women ready to create their vision, free their voice, stand in their value, and increase their visibility. Joni provides spiritual mentorship for women ready to embody their feminine soul, follow the North Star of their deep inner wisdom, and partner with the great mystery to live their heart's desires. You can listen to her podcast, Trust Your Sacred Feminine Flow, at iTunes and many other podcast directories. Welcome to the Divine Feminine Spotlight, Joni.
Thank you, Shann.
It's so good to be with you again. The last interview we had was, the Goddess Talk sessions last September. And now here we are again, shining the light on your beautiful life.
Oh, it feels good. Feels good to be with you again.
Yes, likewise. Let's start our conversation today with a significant life-altering transformation that you feel called to share with the women who are listening in.
Well, it's interesting, Shann, because I gave some thought to that, and it really was a transformation that occurred not long after you and I spoke the last time. And it was through some of my own inner work that I was doing with a form of embodiment training. And it was this past summer, and it really was, I would say, my shift out of fear and my smaller identity of who I am into this larger sense of not only who I am, who we are, but what's here for us and what's available. And I had this profound experience of, I was working with a fall, like literally I had fallen and hurt my ankle, and I was working to heal that. And it was as if I had the opportunity to be spirit again and stand at the precipice of the cosmos and come into life and recognize the matrix and the kind of the underlying infusion of love that was welcoming me and that was me, and that I was entering into this body, my body, and this earth again renewed from a place of love.
Oh my goodness. You just blew your heart wide open, hey?
Yes.
Wow. And so you've got to still be integrating that. That's big work.
Yes. And the thing is, which struck me, as you said at the beginning, the name of my podcast is Trust Your Sacred Feminine Flow. And you and I arrived at that title together, and I never realized there's a way in which that title is both an invitation to, of course, the women I serve, but it was like an ongoing mantra and reminder to myself. And there was a way in which when I had that shift and that transformation, that it kind of opened up this quantum experience of what it means to trust your sacred feminine flow. And I had this sense of this river of love that we by choice can enter, that's here and available, and we can step into the river and we can allow it to carry us, and we can be transmitters of that, and we can immerse ourselves in it, whatever we need. And yeah, so that was my birth and baptism all at once.
Wow. Wow.
Yes.
I just want like to spend the whole time today talking about that.
Yes.
Good. That's just well, good on you. That's really, really powerful and incredibly beautiful.
Mm.
And I'd love for you to kind of
Yes.
and how does that then have things changed since then as far as how you relate to your body and your sexuality and your power?
Mm. Well, Shann, interesting you ask, because uh, sometimes I feel like I am so charged, energetically, like my physical body is so, I think it's still trying to accommodate like the bigness and the fullness of who I am. And for me, this experience has been profoundly rooted in my sexuality, and I would say in this sacred sexual devotion, on a, kind of on an archetypal and cosmic level of, um, that making ecstatic love with the universe or with life, and feeling called into that, and feeling my body alive with that ecstatic energy and that sexual energy, and how to meet life with that. So that is the source of my power. That is my power. And there are days when I am more fully embodying that, and days when we would say the dimmer switch has been turned on a little bit. But it's profoundly changed the way I'm meeting life. And you and I were talking prior, there have been some fairly intense things that have happened in my life since then. And were it not for this state and this experience, I could not have met them. I could not have met those experiences in the same way and felt carried and supported and uh,
Grace comes to mind.
yes,
With
with
grace.
grace, and being able to be a source for others, being able to bring in that loving, graceful energy to affect and change the course of events, and the energy in the room, or whatever it may be.
Came together on the phone today before starting the interview. I could feel the shift in you. I could feel the energy coming through in a much more full-on volume, in a really, and that's so cool. I mean, it just really is. We've known each other long enough for that to be something that I would notice, of course. And so I love it. I love that you are in this space right now, doing your work, continuing to do your work, and showing up and supporting others, and really coming from that fullness of your sensuality.
Thank you, Shann. And I have always appreciated your support and being someone who is cheering me on, so to speak. I think that's so critical for us as women, to hold that space for each other, but to have that in our lives in order to really birth our power, and, to birth into these larger selves that we're called to do.
And part of the process involves sacred feminine ritual. And I would love for you to share some of the things that are your favorite that you do on a regular basis. I know that you live in a very sacred feminine ritualistic way, but I know our listeners would appreciate some suggestions that you might have based on your favorites.
Mm. Well, two come to mind, and the first is working with altars. I love bringing the unseen into everyday life through kind of the honoring and the sacred ritual of creating altars, and whether it's gathering things from the land that are calling to me, energies that want to support me, or if it is having, I work with a number of sacred feminine mentors, whether they be saints or guides. And so I have a lot of photos and statues and paintings. And so it's gathering things, creating a beautiful space, and using the altar to really be a portal or a meeting place, to whether it's to bring elements of life that need transformation, or whether it's to call forth energies that I want to bring forth in my life or in a certain area of my life. So I have always been a devoted altar creator.
Me too. and,
Yes.
and I know you have more than one.
Yes, I do. Probably almost in every room I have.
I tease all the time that my home is my.
Yes. And then my second, which I've kind of come in and out of, is really, I would say, a form of my own version of moving meditation through, whether it's through chant or sensual music, just allowing myself, as I say, to go out of my mind and come back to my senses, and to really go into an open space of, through my body, coming into presence and awareness through music, as I said, or chant, and just taking an extended period, sometimes for as short as 10 minutes, but it can be as long as 40 or 50 minutes, where I, rather than doing a quote sitting meditation, I'm doing a form of moving meditation, which really takes me into both communion with life and that sacred expression, but it also allows me to embody that and move with that.
Is there a favorite track that you like to listen to? I know you love music, of course, but is there something right now that's speaking to you?
Well, there is a Deva Premal audio that I found, and I'm actually gonna turn my.
I just love her.
Yes, it's I don't know the full name, but I heard it. I said I have to buy that because it's like my latest thing. It's like Om Namo Bhaga something. I'm looking it up to see if I can find it. But I found it initially on YouTube, and then I purchased it. Let's see, because I actually was listening to it right before we came together.
Of course you were.
Yes. It's from Embrace. It's Om Namo Bhagavate.
Yes.
Rhythmic and beautiful and sensual. Mm-hmm.
Yes. Oh, good for you. Great choice.
Thank you.
We'll make sure we have a on the blog so that people can sample what you're.
Wonderful.
Let's talk about how else you embody being a sovereign goddess.
Well, it's interesting because these days we are sovereign goddesses in our everyday lives. So it's whether it's being being a wife or being a mother or working in my business, so much of our lives is, it's like after the ecstasy, it's time for the laundry. It's it's kind of like that. So in a way, it's very grounding. It's like, okay, so I am the woman driving in the carpool. I am the woman at the grocery store in the line. And so how do I bring my goddess self to those situations? And part of how I do it when I have presence of mind is sometimes to recognize that those people around me are facets of the divine, and like to send out a little transmission or a little recognition, like I see you, that
Yes.
you are sacred, and it's an honor to be here with you. So that's one of the ways I do it. And of course, the hardest place to do that is in my very own home, where we have the baggage and the patterns of everyday life. So consciously making a practice to see the sacred in my husband and in my daughter, and as we're dealing with who's taking out the recycling and who's setting the table tonight.
And what do you mean you forgot to change the kitty litter again?
Right. Exactly.
That was our conversation last night.
Oh.
I forgot. And I just said, that is just, you can't even use that anymore. It's like, I'm going to flip out and fly out the window if I hear you say that one more time. But it's real. I'm like, yes, I know it's real.
Yes.
Yes.
The sacred and the mundane all together.
Right. Well, and also, I'd like to reflect back in your sovereignty too, that you're in my experience with you, you are the only one living in your head now.
Oh, wow. That means a lot. Yes.
And yes, I mean, that's huge. And part of that sovereign space is what is my truth, and what am I going to do with that? And obviously based on the epiphany and the experience that you had, and even through the most challenging times, to be on still in it, but also parts on the other side of it, to just, wow. It just keeps coming through to me as, wow, look at how much she's transformed.
Wow. Thank you for that reflection and for that insight, because it's very powerful and potent. And I can feel the truth of that, and I can reflect back on the state prior when I was not the only person in my head. And it feels much better on this side.
Well, and there's such a lesson there for all of our listeners today, and it might not be something that stays. Everything's in flow, as we've been saying, but when you get a taste of what that feels like, and when you practice really honoring the one in you that is your voice, it becomes easier and easier and easier for the other occupants to ask to step aside.
Evicted.
Yeah, that was the word that was going to come out first, and you pulled it right out of me.
Yeah.
And but yes, you evicted. So bravo.
Yay.
Yay. What comes up for you in your heart when you hear me say walk in beauty or beauty medicine? What does that feel, look like to you?
So to me, and I've heard you ask this question of other women, and it's like I've always known what I would say, and it's still true in this moment. I have been given a glimpse. I've had spiritual senses open up that give me a glimpse that I think many of us don't always see of the beauty that is this life and that is all around us in everything. And to me, for me, to walk in beauty is to walk in the recognition of that. It's to walk on the land and to see the way the trees are transmitting love, not just to me, but to all of us, or the earth or the seas, and the way that we are held in this exquisite state of grace, often, most often unawares of that fact. And I have literally had visions of what that looks like. And so for me, that is what I aspire to. And when I am walking fully in beauty, that's what it looks like for me.
I love the pictures that you share on Instagram and Facebook and the different places that you play in social media. That really speaks to me. The water and the woods and the wildlife. I am also immersed in that as much as I possibly can be. And there's something so incredibly magical and grounding and beautiful in paying attention to all of these miracles that are happening around us at any given time.
Yes. Yes, I'll share very briefly. One day I walked into Trader Joe's, and at our Trader Joe's we have an area right at the very beginning, or in the, just as you walk in the door, and all the fresh cut flowers are there. And I walked in and I just had this sense of like all these little angelic beings smiling at all the passersby, and just sending all this loving energy to everyone coming into the store. And of course, we all were busy with our shopping list and not really paying attention to that. But it's so present.
Yes, I would be like right there scooping them up. I'm such a flower fanatic. Just on my desk right now, I have an orchid in full bloom, and then I have another one that just started to send up 2 new shoots for they'll probably be ready to bloom about the time that the other one is done. And it always just feels like just the greatest gift. And my husband and my daughter tease me about, this orchid thing that I have. But like my mother saved, 2 of the orchids that I have from a trash heap, and I brought them back to.
Yes.
I get that. That is such a, yeah, flowers are magic, and they are sending us love all the time.
Yes.
So beautiful.
Yes. And I remember you sharing that story. That was a very powerful story. That and the moon, which my daughter rolls her eyes, but every time I see the full moon, I gasp and I say, how can anybody look at that and not be in awe and wonder? It just
Right.
it just blows me
Right?
away every time.
We'll be driving down the street. We went and just last week, and it was the sunset, full moonrise, and we're driving, and I'm looking out the window, and I'm like, Muna, Muna. My husband and my daughter are like, oh my God. Like, look at her. She's so beautiful. Because sometimes it just needs to be that silly to just be like, come on,
Yes.
look at this. Don't you see this? This is such a powerful thing. So yeah,
Yes.
I'm madly in love with the moon myself. Madly in love. So let's talk about your inspiration for the work that you're doing right now. We didn't talk beforehand about what specifically you might like to share today, but you have so many things going on. I'll let you choose and tell us about it.
Yes. Well, actually, I am preparing to create an offering around these many experiences we've been sharing about today, which really is an immersion in sacred feminine flow, and it's not quite completed yet, but it's coming soon. And it really was this my awakening and opening to both the reality within myself and in life, that it felt really important to give other women the opportunity to open their spiritual senses within themselves and to life, because it's not just unique to me that I can have this experience, but that we all can have these experiences. And so anytime I go through a shift or a transformation, I'm just the kind of person that I always want to share the goodies. Like, I always want to share the
Yeah.
goodies. So I just think it's the best thing ever. And so I just feel called to share practices and processes that I have found that have allowed me to stay open and to birth this aspect of myself. So that's my inspiration.
All right. Well, I look forward to learning more about that, and we'll make sure that we keep our listeners updated as you roll that out.
Yes.
You also have a love offering for everybody who listens in today or who reads your interview at our blog. Tell me about that.
Well, that is an updated version of Standing in Your Sovereignty, which I offered at the Goddess Talk sessions as well. And it really is about rooting into that essential self that is the grounding for our sovereignty. It's that remembering who you really are beyond the story, beyond the personality, that deepest essential self, and then standing in that and remembering what it is you know from that place. And then how do we bring that into our day-to-day lives? And I have a whole piece that I'm doing around needs, because it seems that for most of us, that's an area where we can run into trouble. So we go from this really kind of expansive grounding in the truth of who we are to the very basic of, I created this inventory of needs that breaks out like different areas of life and what you might need in relationship, what you might need in your physical body, as a way to just ground choices and how do we move forward and stand in our sovereignty in the nitty-gritty of life. So that's my long answer.
Oh, that's great. No, a long answer is fantastic. You always put so much thought into what you create, and so I appreciate knowing that it's a new and improved version over the one that was already amazing. So we'll make sure that if you're listening, that link is available at the Transformation Goddess blog. That's where you'll want to head over and get that. But also, I'd like to share how our listeners and readers can contact you if they'd like to just reach out to you or follow you on social media.
Sure. They can follow me on Facebook. My professional Facebook page is Revolutionary Heart, as well as that is my website. You can reach me through revolutionaryheart.com, as well as joniadventmaher.com. And then I'm also on Instagram under Revolutionary Heart. And Instagram has been my recent love. I just,
Isn't it fun?
Oh my gosh, the images, I feel like just going on there, the people I follow, it's so much beauty that comes through, and it's like a little mini service of some sort, sacred service.
I agree. Yeah. I agree. It's really easy to fall down the rabbit hole and the beauty that's available to you there, and I love sharing there as well. So pretty much anywhere online, social media wise, they can find you, and revolutionaryheart.com is probably the easiest for your website.
Yes, definitely.
That's just great. Well, thank you, Joni, so much for stepping into the divine feminine spotlight today and sharing your truth. And it's just always a pleasure to share time with you and to give you that stage to share all of this great work that you've been doing and the blessings that come with the work.
Thank you, Shann. I so appreciate what you have created in building this platform and the way that you have been of service just to awaken women to their sacred essence and giving me the opportunity to share with you today.
Absolutely. Joni Advent Maher, spiritual midwife, transformational coach, amazing goddess. You can listen to her podcast, Trust Your Sacred Feminine Flow, on iTunes. You can find her at revolutionaryheart.com and at all of the wonderful places that you like to hang out online, Instagram, Facebook, and I believe you might even be on Twitter.
I am on Twitter. I'm at Joni Advent Maher, and I'm less active there lately because it's so word based, but
Yeah.
I am there.
Well, great. Well, thanks again, Joni. Such a pleasure to spend time with you today.
Me too. Deep bow, doing the deep bow. Namaste.
Namaste. Thanks for listening to This Sacred Life and the Divine Feminine Spotlight. Visit transformationgoddess.com to claim our album of guided relaxations for women who do too much. And while you're there, check out our latest articles, book reviews, and resources for your goddess journey.